Hello, everyone. It is 3 p.m. on this day, the 12th of April, 2020, and doing the Lord's Day afternoon readings now at 3 p.m. And that gives a little more opportunity to visit brethren all over the country. This morning, I began by listening to Brother Wade Stanley up there in Martinstown, Missouri. So I ran up to Martinstown, Missouri, and then I had to kind of leave his session in order to be on time to attend the first video session, meeting with our home congregation, our Lawrence, Kansas congregation. And pretty much just about the time that ended, then we were in Long Beach, California with the congregation there, actually via the network there with the Mannings in Los Alamitos, California. And I had to run from California and go to Oregon, which was in the next room. And so I was attending my dad's session there he was doing with the Veneta, Oregon congregation. And as that was wrapping up, I ran back to the next room where California still was. And when I left just now, my wife is still in California talking to our oldest son there at the Mannings home in Los Alamitos. It's great that we can be connected like this and take advantage of these things. So it's time for the reading, and our reading today is in the book of Job. Job shows us that suffering can be very real, and that in times of suffering, people can be very disappointing to us. This crisis that we're in has brought out some not so good things in a lot of people. That's the nature of such a thing as this. You see the best and you see the worst in people. Job's close friends and associates served to be a disappointment to him. And Job, quite honestly, felt abandoned and deserted by God, and he spoke to that. Much like David, in some of his Psalms, he expresses the anguish of his heart. And the thing is, Job and David, well, they were praying to God. Keep praying to God. Bring all of your concerns to Him. There is none other that can deliver. There is none other that can hear with the right heart and understand, for they know our frame like God. So, some thoughts as we go into our reading today. We have 2 chapters today in the book of Job that are scheduled for our reading. So we are in Job, looking at chapter 29 and chapter 30. And again, Job took up his discourse and said, "Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in my prime, when the friendship of God was upon my tent, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were all around me, when my steps were washed with butter, and the rock poured out for me streams of oil. When I went out to the gate of the city, when I prepared my seat in the square, the young men saw me and withdrew, and the aged rose and stood. The princes refrained from talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The voice of the nobles was hushed, and their tongue stuck to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard, it called me blessed. When the eye saw, it approved. Because I delivered the poor who cried for help, and the fatherless who had none to help him. The blessing of him who was about to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I searched out the cause of him whom I did not know. I broke the fangs of the unrighteous, and made him drop his prey from his teeth. Then I thought, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My roots spread out to the waters, with the dew all night on my branches, my glory fresh with me, and my bow ever new in my hand. Men listened to me and waited, and kept silence for my counsel. After I spoke, they did not speak again, and my word dropped upon them. They waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouths as for the spring rain. I smiled on them when they had no confidence, and the light of my face they did not cast down. I chose their way, and sat as a chief, and I lived like a king among his troops, like one who comforts mourners. That was chapter 29 of the book of Job. Now chapter 30. But now they laugh at me. Men who are younger than I, whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. What could I gain from the strength of their hands, men whose vigor is gone? Through want and hard hunger they gnaw the dry ground by night. In waste and desolation they pick saltwort and the leaves of bushes and the roots of the broom tree for their food. They are driven out from human company. They shout after them as after a thief. In the gullies of the torrents they must dwell, in holes of the earth and of the rocks. Among the bushes they bray, under the nettles they huddle together. A senseless, a nameless brood. They have been whipped out of the land. And now I have become their song. I am a byword to them. They abhor me. They keep aloof from me. They do not hesitate to spit at the sight of me. Because God has loosed my cord and humbled me. They have cast off restraint in my presence. On my right hand the rabble rise. They push away my feet. They cast up against me their ways of destruction. They break up the path. They promote my calamity. They need no one to help them. As through a wide breach they come. Amid the crash they roll on. Terrors are turned upon me. My honor is pursued as by the wind, and my prosperity has passed away like a cloud. And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction have taken hold of me. The night racks my bones, and the pain that gnaws me takes no rest. With great force my garment is disfigured. It binds me about like the collar of my tunic. God has cast me into the mire, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry to you for help, and you do not answer me. I stand, and you only look at me. You have turned cruel to me. With the might of your hand you persecute me. You lift me up on the wind. You make me ride on it, and you toss me about in the roar of the storm. For I know that you will bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all the living. Yet does not one in a heap of ruins stretch out his hand, and in his disaster cry for help? Did I not weep for him whose day was hard? Was not my soul grieved for the needy? But when I hoped for good, evil came, and when I waited for light, darkness came. My inward parts are in turmoil and never still. Days of affliction come to meet me. I go about darkened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. I am a brother of jackals, a companion of ostriches. My skin turns black and falls from me, and my bones burn with heat. My lyre is turned to mourning, and my pipe to the voice of those who weep. Cindy Mayo Venholzen, thank you for joining us. I see a few new names here. Susan Butler Robinson, thank you. The rest of the names have already scrolled by. I do appreciate your stopping by. 3 p.m. each Lord's Day afternoon for this reading. That's Central Standard Kansas time. 2 p.m. on the other weekdays, also on Saturday, 2 p.m. for the reading. And then I'm also doing, hello Cousin Teresa, I'm also doing the Bible study on Wednesday mornings. That's at 10 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, doing the book of Luke. And doing, right now we are looking at type and antitype on Lord's Day mornings at 8:30 a.m. So just want to let you know about that in case you're listening for the first time. I appreciate your stopping by. Know that God knows you. Know that He loves you. And know that I love you and I appreciate you. Much love and respect. And I wish you a good afternoon and evening. Bye for now.